All right. We're live. We'll give it a couple minutes. How to turn your existing content into an SEO funnel. This should be a fun discussion today. As we're going through, if anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. We're going to have a discussion at the end, so questions will be answered at the end. But add them as we go along when you have them, so we don't forget them. All right, let me get my screen situated here and we can get started. Okay, so today is how to turn your existing content into an SEO funnel. And here to talk about that is Brad and Ryan, our in-house SEO experts. And then Blaine and I are going to be talking a little bit about Hero Mission. Brad, Ryan, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Blaine, you can introduce yourself too. Brad, you go first.
Brad Gerlach, Vice President of Operations and SEO here at PIC. Been doing SEO for 20 years or so, and just looking forward to another good SEO discussion today.
Hey, my name's Ryan York. I've been in SEO for about 10 years. I am the SEO specialist at PIC, and I am also looking forward to this one. This is one some process we use probably every week almost, at least. So looking forward to this one.
Good morning, everyone. Blaine Clapper, and I'm the VP of Marketing at PIC, and I was a PIC client for many years in different jobs, and like the Hero Mission strategy and other work that PIC does so well that I joined it as a partner a few years ago. So also looking forward to the webinar.
All right. And my name's Rob Luther. I am also a partner at PIC, VP of Business Development. I came up with a concept of Hero Mission, synthesizing some things together out there in the world. And it's been a pretty good framework for us from a marketing perspective and being able to help our clients reach their customers. So with that, the discussion today is about the SEO funnel, creating an SEO funnel with existing content. But I do want to just touch on Hero Mission because that is a way that we can organize content. If you've seen this slide before, if you've been to any of my webinars before, I'm sure that you've seen this slide. People don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill. They want to buy a 1/4-inch hole. And this is a perfect slide to focus on a customer-centric approach to marketing rather than that company-centric approach. So we really want to understand who our customers are. Now, the Hero Mission strategy is broken down into 3 core parts. We have heroes, we have missions, and then we have the stories. So the heroes are the customers that we want to do business with. The missions are what they're trying to accomplish. And the stories are the way that we engage with them and tell them why we can help them, how we can help them, and what we do to help them. The mission brief is a way that we can quickly kind of identify who our heroes are and what the missions are that they're on. We build hero missions mission briefs in a format of as a, when I want to, so I. So the as a is their role and purpose, what they're there for. When I is the mission that they're trying to achieve or the job that they're trying to do. I want are the desired outcomes of that mission, what they expect. And then so I is the impact of those outcomes, how it's going to affect them or their business. our heroes have multiple missions. So there's a whole bunch of things that you have to do every day. It's not like you have one mission in your job and that's all you have to worry about. There's a whole bunch of different things that you have to do. So when we're looking at our heroes, we have to understand the missions that best align with our ability to help them be successful. So that's what we want to look at. So we look at those missions, and then once we find the mission, we want to break that down into the friction points and fundamental needs and the potential outcomes of success, failure, or just kind of status quo. We want to understand that so that we can see where our heroes are coming from. Now, once we identify that mission brief, once we have that hero, once we have an idea of the mission that they're trying to accomplish, and we develop those and understand those friction points and those fundamental needs, we can start grouping all of that together into chapters that represent a complete hero journey. So we're not looking at necessarily the traditional buyer's journey, awareness, consideration, decision at this part. What we want to understand is the entire mission that hero is trying to accomplish, so that we can create content not just where our opportunity for sales is, but be able to add value across that entire mission for our hero. Now, once we have our storyboard built out, broken down into 6 chapters, then what we can do is start looking at each individual chapter. So each individual chapter, again, we have our friction points and our fundamental needs. They're organized into that chapter, so we can start creating content to help add value to our hero. And this is an example of what a chapter anatomy might look like. So we have our content pieces that we've generated, valuable content pieces that are going to help our hero. Now we want to get traffic to them, so we can do that through organic search, SEO. We'll be talking about that today. Pay-per-click, organic, social, email, whatever you can do to get eyeballs on your content, you want that to happen. And then on those content pieces, we want to start pushing them over toward more of a nurture and getting them to trust us. We want to earn their trust in this process. So this is kind of an example of what a chapter might look like. But once you put it into more of a reality standpoint, it can be a little bit more complicated. So here we have our content pieces on the left. We have our CTAs that are taking us over to a landing page. That landing page may be an offer, some sort of checklist or something like that. Once they engage with that offer, we can start remarketing to them. We can obviously have sales follow up with them, and we can put them in a nurture sequence where we can start adding more value as they go about their mission. And then from there, we're trying to push them. Ultimately, we're trying to get them over to what we call the number 1 page. And that's the page that if your customer has a job that they want to get done, you want that page to represent all the value you can offer them in order to be successful. And you want to set expectations so that they know what it's like working with you. They know what the sales process is going to look like. It's a chance for you to differentiate yourself from the competition. So we want them to go to that number 1 page, and that's where we can really focus a little bit more in on making a sales engagement with that content. So this would be what a kind of a well-built out chapter could look like, the structure of it. And again, SEO is at the beginning, middle, and we want everything optimized for search, so that if our sales action, we want that page to come up whenever they search for it. And all of this content will be supporting that page as well. And now I'll turn it over to Blaine to talk a little bit.
All right, thanks, Rob. So building on what Rob just presented as the hero mission, in SEO, we see 2 common issues in organizations that don't follow the hero mission. One, they chase low-value keywords that generate traffic but don't convert because the searcher's intent doesn't match what the company is offering. And secondly, they use generic language that really makes them sound like every other vendor. And so what hero mission does is fix that by connecting the strategy to measurable SEO outcomes, as Rob alluded to. So instead of asking, how do we rank for X keyword, we ask ourselves, what's the hero searching for at each stage of the journey? And that ensures that the SEO work that we do actually reflects the core strategy and the hero mission. Do you want to jump to the next slide, Rob? So when we align the hero mission, or align SEO and hero mission, the content becomes a series of as Rob said, structured chapters, part of the story that guide the hero to the resolution. So, which is ultimately our product or service. And ultimately, our metric for success is our hero's success. When our product or service helps them successfully complete their mission, we've earned a loyal, high-value customer. Next slide. And transitioning that into the funnel, the content funnel, we've kind of set the stage by following the hero mission strategy or established the blueprint. Relates directly to the three main stages that we typically address on our websites. Awareness, where the hero is just discovering that they have a problem or a symptom, and we educate them. We need high-ranking content to get their attention. Consideration stage, they know the problem. Now they're researching solutions. We need case studies, deep dive comparisons, more information to answer their questions and really present our solution or our product or service as the solution they need. And then the decision, they're ready to commit. We need clear CTAs, schedule a demo, start a pilot. So how do we move from the philosophy part of this into a tangible SEO structure? And I like to start with a client with a visitor path analysis. So are we guiding the prospect through our website and the content of our website in a logical manner? Now, this example here where we targeted a specific hero, the auditor supervisor, and our objective was to, again, lead the hero from the initial pain to the final purchase. So looking at the tables here on the screen, you can see how we didn't just list keywords, we mapped the hero's mindset, content they need, the conversion action for each stage of the journey. And that becomes our funnel architecture. So at the awareness stage, they're searching for, or they're not looking for the client solution. Excuse me, they're looking for a solution to a symptom. They know their auditing team is inconsistent, review cycles are slow. That frustration drives the search. And in response to that, we'll get their attention with search SEO queries like software to improve audit team consistency or audit management, very targeted for what this hero is experiencing. And the content that we serve will first off validate the pain. Our messaging emphasis at this stage is all about their frustration, inconsistent team findings, slow review cycles, and we intercept that search with educational content. For example, a guide, the ROI of audit digitization, for example. And the call to action is soft. Read the guide, not buy now. We're looking to build their trust, not sell to them at this point. Then advancing to the consideration stage. Now they know a solution exists, can control it, and they're comparing us to competitors. So this is where our content needs to be more specific. We move them from a blog post to dedicated feature pages on our site and really focus on those pain points. Reviewer workflows, reporting, insights, things that really give the supervisor the control that they're looking for. And we introduce the quantitative impact here, not just say our software is fast, for example. We quote a client story, a claim that directly solves the hero's mission of efficiency gains. And we get a little harder with the CTA. So here it's calculate your team's efficiency gains or see a reporting dashboard demo. Guide them to experience the value of the solution that we're offering. And then finally, the decision stage, where we really want to get them to. They're ready to commit. Now they need to de-risk or lower the risk of the investment. They're worried about deployment cost, is the vendor jigging, reinforce low total cost of ownership, and provide assurances, like, for example, a clear onboarding roadmap. And call to actions at this point are much more, much higher level of commitment. Schedule your audit, start a pilot for your team. CTAs that directly address the final barrier, which is the fear of failed implementation. And so with that, sum that up, the visitor path analysis shows that we aren't just creating content randomly. We're creating a defined series of content assets, each one specific keyword targets, conversion goal, and all unified under that hero mission. And so with that, brings us to the question of the day. We have hundreds of existing blog posts, guides. How do we figure out which of our existing content pieces fit into the new structured funnel? And which content can be leveraged for awareness, which is currently wasting time. So with that, I'll turn things over to Ryan and Brad to talk about the Keep Kill Combine process for content auditing. And they can give you the tips you need to improve your SEO.
Yeah, so so that's a great overview of why you need the hero before you get into like the nuts and bolts of the process that we'll go through here. Rob, you want to share my screen?
Yeah, let me pop it up there real quick. All right, okay. Perfect.
All right, so now when we go through this process, it's a little different. This is going to be like a simplified version that you don't need a lot of tools or software or whatever to use. So we wanted to make sure you had something that you could take away and work on right away. So when you're going through this, so this is Google Search Console. This is free. You just add your site if you've never been in here before. If you just Google Search Console, it'll pop right up. So you would add your site in here, and then so how we would start this, if you go to search results, and I'm going to look at the last 12 months here. So you can obviously do any time frame you want. The reason I like 12 months is, especially if you've got a really seasonal business, you don't want to be looking at data where, you might be missing your busy time, or, you're only seeing data from your busy time. So the last 12 months kind of gives you the full picture, but you could obviously do any time period you want here. So if you go to your last 12 months, and as we kind of discussed, what you're really looking for here is you're trying to find content that's not performing, or even doesn't align with your hero, which is why it's super important to get the hero aspect down first before you do this, because that could also dictate, which posts or which content you're removing, which content you're combining, or if you need more content. So that is critical to make sure you've got that first. But so once you go in here, if you go to the Pages tab, and then one of the easiest things to do first, so if you're kind of pruning, we're going to filter this by impressions. We will say smaller than, let's say, like 20. So impressions are just the number of times a user is seeing this post in search results. And then clicks are the number of times that they actually click on the search result, click on your URL from the search results. And so one thing I do want to highlight, though, is, so this is somewhat of an estimate. You always want to check your Google Analytics and make sure that the URL is not receiving a lot of sessions. People could still be finding this page other ways, once they've landed on your site. So this doesn't mean that this page has zero traffic per se. It means that it has very low clicks from search results. So then once you're in here, so basically these are pages that they have no clicks. When you have very low impressions like this, it basically means that it's not ranking for very many keywords or any keywords. So then I would just go through here, and you kind of start looking for, I want to focus on a blog. These are author pages. Let's make this a little bigger. And let's see. So then you're basically just going to click on one of these blogs. And so like if we look at this one, for example, we'll open this up. So then you're just going through and you're looking at the post. You might determine, so this looks like it has a lot of good content. let's see if it's got any keywords. So then if you click on one of these, so then this is just data for this one page. So if we look at our queries, so these are the search queries that this could have shown up for. So we see not a lot here, 1 impression. So really probably not showing up for very much. So then you look at your content and you determine, it looks like, again, it's built out. It looks like pretty good content, so this might need a rewrite, then you can start gauging, do we want to combine this with another post? Do we just want to rewrite this? Sometimes you might find that the post, if it doesn't have headings, if it doesn't have links, if it's just, if it's just not a quality post, you might just delete it. So in this case, this is probably one looking at this, I might look at the content on the page and, you start assessing, could I combine this somewhere else? Maybe there's a better, in your headings, in your meta titles, is there a way we could optimize this a little better for a slightly different topic? Because it does have a lot of content. But so then from there, I mean, you're basically you're kind of going post by post and you're looking for opportunities where, if it really doesn't look like a quality post, that those might be ones you just prune from your site. So that's one way so option 1 would be when you've got very few clicks, very few impressions. So these are likely a lot of posts that are, you're either probably going to combine with another one, or you might get rid of them. And then again, though, to go back to the hero, this is another time you would want to assess, sometimes there's posts that just aren't necessarily going to be SEO focused content. It might be brand content or content you share, through email or social media or something like that. So you need to make sure you're considering those things. Don't just go in and delete a bunch of posts because they don't have any clicks. All right. So that would be option 1. So the second option, again,
real quick, as you're doing that too, because you're getting eyes on posts, look at the CTA on the post. Does it make sense based off of the topic of the post? Is it sending somebody over to a related, relevant topic that's adding more value? So it's always a good anytime you're looking at your blog content, make sure that it is that the CTAs on that blog content. First of all, make sure that there are CTAs, because it's amazing how many people write blog posts and put a lot of time in blog posts and don't even put CTAs on their blog posts. So make sure that there are CTAs and make sure that they're relevant to the content of that blog post.
And another thing I would say also is when you're doing this work, this is kind of like your foundational review. So you don't have to go and do a deep review for each URL at the very beginning. Kind of start looking at this is getting your game plan. You tweak your notes. This post has only these impressions, not getting any clicks. Anything you see from that review of the blog post, a lot of times I end up saying my last thing is needs optimized or for a core keyword. That way, when I come back, I know what I'm optimizing, what I have to look into. So I just want to make sure that don't just get so focused on one URL at a time. Go through this list, and after that list is where we kind of start strategically deciding which posts we're going to optimize versus other ones.
Yep, great points. Okay, so then the second way that I would be using this, so the first way, again, if you had no clicks, very few impressions. So the second way would be if you have few clicks, but you've got a significant amount of impressions. So basically what this is saying, a lot of these are going to be your content that might be on like page 2, page 3, so it's ranking. It's just not generating a ton of traffic. So these are really good opportunities usually where you can go in and make tweaks versus like rewriting an entire post. So let's see, again, let's focus on a blog here. Foundational SEO tasks seems relevant. All right, so if we go in here and look, so again, if you click on the link, so right now we're only seeing data for this one page. So here you see a lot more queries than the last time. So again, these are queries that users are typing in where the URL is showing somewhere within the search results. So if we click our average position, so then what you could do here, is again, so you're looking now at, so these are the number of impressions for each specific query, and then the average position for that this URL is showing for that query within search results. So how I would kind of use this data now is I would typically try to stick to maybe like the first 3 pages. So like, 30 and under, if you get to 80, like that's really deep. Like that's just, it might not be a relevant enough post for something like that. But like if you're looking at these where they're 29, 28, I mean, these seem like keywords that are on topic. Yeah, let's get a little more here. So then you're just basically, and again, like Brad said, you might not do this deep of a dive right away. But once you get to this point, this is how I would be using these queries. So then, as you go down the list here, you're looking at the position, you're looking at these relevant keywords. You can get great ideas for like FAQs in here, like what are some tasks associated with SEO. And you're basically just going through the list and you're finding keywords that are ranking pretty close to page 1. And then let's take a look at this post. We open this up. And then you're basically, you're going to go through the content and you're going to see if there's opportunities where you could add those keywords in. It might be.
We can't see your screen. We can't see the post screen on there, Ryan.
Oh, I didn't.
You might have to throw it in that browser window.
There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. All right. So if, again, looking at this post, so, you're going to go through here and you're going to look for opportunities where you might be able to add that keyword in. It might be in headings. You might need a new section that you could, improve the post overall with a new section, tables. Obviously the end game is making the post more valuable, making it a better post, don't just think like keyword stuffing. You want to improve the quality of the post, but you're using these keywords from Search Console to kind of guide. This is what Google wants to see. It's what Google thinks is the most relevant. So you're looking for opportunities in headings, and again, where you can add content, add frequently asked questions. That's a great way to add some like longer tail keywords or questions. The other big benefit to this is with AI search now, and like ChatGPT, all those things, they pull content from all places within the post. So when you start adding, like, again, FAQs are really good for that, but these specific instances of keywords or questions, AI really analyzes the entire content of the post. And it really prioritizes freshness. So when you do this you start doing this on a regular basis for all of your content, you can see pretty quick results, especially again with like ChatGPT and the different AI platforms. When you start updating content on more of a regular basis. So
one thing I would add to this also is if you find that core keyword that you're optimizing for, the one that you really want to rank number 1 for, go to the SERPs and look at your competition. Look at the blog posts, the pages that are ranking 1 through 3. You could look at the whole top 10, but really the top 3 ranking ones. See what they're doing. See what sections do they have. What content do they have that you're missing, and start adding that. So look at those as your competition. Your post is not going to rank above theirs if it's not as good as or better than theirs.
Definitely. And then we touched on intent before as well. This is a great place to see, if the intent of your page matches what it's ranking for. So if you've got a service page, for example, or a product page, and some of your top positions are more informational queries, it's hard to win those when the intent isn't lined up. With a product or a service, you're looking at more of a commercial or a transactional intent. So that might indicate you might need to create some more, or a supplemental blog post to kind of target some of the informational keywords that are popping up.
And again, going to the Google results will allow you to understand what that intent of the keyword is. If you're putting the keyword in and all the results are product pages, there's a good chance that your blog post isn't going to rank, and vice versa is the same. If it's a bunch of blog posts and you're trying to rank a product page, service page, probably not going to rank because it's an informative search query.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll put a keyword in Google and you go look at the top 3 pages and they're not even relevant to what you think that keyword actually means. It's a completely different thing. So definitely important to make sure that you understand what your keywords are. A lot of times people try to use internal jargon as part of their keyword strategy too, which doesn't mean anything to people outside their organization necessarily.
Yeah, great point. So, so I mean, to sum up, so again, in Search Console, I would go, and you can obviously do this for service pages, product pages, whatever pages you want. But if you're focusing on a blog, is a lot of times where we're doing it for. But look for pages that have very limited clicks, and then either very limited impressions, and also on the flip side, more impressions. And that's kind of how you would start either pruning, which would be your kill, where if you're going to get rid of the post or page entirely, you can start considering, I guess one more quick thing. So if you do happen to find a query that you think is relevant, but maybe it's not ranking very well, you could then, let's just take SEO tasks, for example. If you get rid of that filter and you search by a query and you put in SEO task, so this can help you determine, maybe if you need to combine, if you've got, if you start to see 3, 4, 5, 6 pages or whatever that are all generating impressions for this one keyword, you can then go into these and start considering like, all right, maybe I need to combine 1 or 2 or 3 of these together, to make one great post versus having 3 that are kind of generating some impressions or ranking a little bit. But that can all kind of that's where you start to put your strategy together as far as, do I need to delete these? Do I need to combine these? Or do I just need, a few little updates here and there? And then you can start to try and get these pages these URLs up onto page 1.
I think it's a good time to kind of explain, why we're keeping something, why we would delete something, and why we would combine something. Deleting content is always a scary thing. Somebody wrote that, somebody took their time to write that, and is most likely happy about their content. However, if it's not bringing in traffic, it can actually be harming you. It can be diluting your authority. Over time, all websites kind of go on tangents. Something that was popular 5 years ago might not be popular or even relevant anymore in the industry. And that content, Google seeing that as being outdated content and kind of pulling you down from a subject matter expert perspective. So that's the kind of things you want to look at. If a page is old content, it's not relevant anymore, delete it. Years ago, I've deleted 50% or more of content for a site and see an increase of rankings. So it sounds counterintuitive, but less content can help you rank better in that case. From a combining, Ryan already mentioned the combine. That's when, like he said, you can find 2 blog posts or more that are ranking for the same keywords. So they're cannibalizing each other. Neither one is ranking as good as they can because the other one's stealing authority from it. So that's where you want to combine the blog posts or the content, depending on what it is exactly. And then keep is everything else. If it's good, if it's getting rankings, getting traffic, getting conversions, you want to keep it, but you may still want to optimize it too. You still want to update it. Maybe it's ranking 3 now and you want to get to number 1. So you want to optimize it, or that it's not converting as well as you want to. So you review it to see from a conversion aspect what you need to do to increase the conversions of that page. Maybe it's a CTA mismatch or something else.
Yeah, we actually had a client once that didn't want to delete blog posts because they didn't want to hurt the author's feelings. So it was, it's just get them. If they're bad blog posts, you get them to write something new, or have them be the one to combine 2 or 3 blog posts into a new valuable one.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure that whenever you're doing that, there's value in the post. Share it with your sales reps and say, would you be proud enough, or do you think there's enough value in this post for you to send it out to a prospect? See what they say.
And the other thing I would say is, let the people know that their content may get deleted over time. The content has an expiration date sometimes. Sometimes things are evergreen. Other content isn't. So just because you're deleting it doesn't mean it wasn't useful at a time. It just means its usefulness is no longer needed.
And it might not even be bad. It might need a different angle. But at the end of the day, it's just, if no one's seeing it, then it's not helping anyone. So, it's about finding out how you can make this content, I guess, more visible and more helpful, versus framing it as like it's a poorly written post or something like that.
Yeah, the other thing to think about, we're talking SEO, so we're talking rankings and having your content rank in the top 10 so people come and visit it. However, there is content out there that's not SEO focused, right? We're not expecting to get a bunch of traffic. Maybe it's better for social media. I see this all the time where I'll be auditing a client site and the content's really good. It's a really strong blog post, but the topic isn't anything you can find for keyword research that it looks like anybody's searching for. So they're already solving a problem that their heroes are already searching for. So, but that is good social media content. Hey, we thought of something that you didn't already. Have you considered this? So just because it's not getting SEO traffic doesn't mean you automatically delete it. If it's quality content, you may be able to repurpose it for another traffic channel and review that. If it's still pulling it down, you may want to no index it and still use it. But there's different ways of doing that. But always think about different ways you can use that content before you finally delete it.
Yeah, I'd love to know from the audience how people out there are using their content beyond just throwing it up on their blog and just kind of letting it sit there. Are you using it as part of the sales process? Are you sending it out on social? I think when you create a blog post, I think there's just a lot of different things that you can do with that beyond throwing it out on the blog. Chopping it up into different social media messages just to get eyeballs on it. Using that blog post to push people over to other relevant content. It's part of, I think you got to view each blog post as part of the customer's journey within your ecosystem.
You can also share that content with colleagues from outside your organization as well. And if they like it, they may share it as well. That helps amplify your messaging in the search and the traffic of it as well. That's another. Don't forget about your close network that might like your content as well.
And
so if anybody out there, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, I know not everyone does video, but I mean, you can make simple videos about every blog post you make, just because a lot of people don't read blog posts. They watch videos instead. And it doesn't have to be a fancy video. It might just be you summarizing whatever you just said in a blog post. And then that helps you in multiple channels, but it also helps your SEO of the post. YouTube videos show up in SEO. They show up in AI search results. Having the video in the blog post might improve the engagement rates of, someone reading the blog post. Use as many channels as you can.
That's something that we also didn't mention here too, is when you're updating a blog post, it doesn't necessarily have to be words when it's content. It could be video, it could be multimedia, it could be video, it could be charts, it could be graphs. There's studies out there that show that the top ranking pages have more multimedia on there than just words as well. So any way that you can explain the topic to the hero and allow them to get what they need out of it, do it, because some people like to read, some people like to look, some people want to watch. So try to hit all those ways so that you can get your message out there.
Let's talk a little bit about collaboration between teams. So we have SEO departments, we have content teams, or we may have brand teams, or it may just be a marketing director saying this is the kind of content that we need to create. So from the SEO's perspective, what is the best way to collaborate with outside teams, be it an agency or an in-house team, to help guide the process, both from their side on the messaging, from your side on the SEO? Just talk a little bit about the best way to collaborate with a team from the SEO.
Besides just listening to SEO?
Yeah. Just do whatever SEO says.
Yeah.
The truth is in every organization there's a balance, right? There is a messaging, a branding that every business, every organization wants to put out there. A lot of times the branding doesn't align with SEO beautifully and perfectly. So there's a balance there. A lot of the collaboration a lot of times is from an SEO perspective is explaining why we want it this way and what the effects of it is versus just doing it the branding and using the inside jargon that you may have. So when it comes to collaboration, I think that's really what it is. It's sitting down and talking to the other parts of the teams of how your hero's seeing this. How does this help your hero? So then the SEO understands how to frame it and maybe different other words that we can use to try to optimize the post.
This
Ryan,
goes
you got any
back
thoughts?
also.
Yeah, I think a really good way, I mean, to give a specific example of like a department or something would be, between like your Facebook ads or your Google ads, a pay-per-click department or whatever, would just be collaborating together to see different, whether it's a pain point, different ways or different wording that your customers are actually responding to. The way they talk about a problem, it might not even be the way they talk about your service specifically or what they call the service or product, but how they talk about the problem that they have, and finding that how you can resonate more with the customer, and just using those back and forth between your ads, or you might be taking phrasing from an ad or even like images from an ad that are working really well, and you might just put those in a relevant blog post, or vice versa. I think now you don't want to get so caught up on your search terms where your content just sounds like every other, competitor's content that's in a similar industry. When you can start finding how your customers talk about problems, specific like instances or use cases that they're using it or something that helped them, those like super niche phrases or words or whatever it might be. I think if you can collaborate back and forth and start using those across all your different platforms, I think
that also, I mean, the way we do keyword research is kind of shows that from a collaborative standpoint, where we categorize our keywords and then we prioritize those categories. Then we can share that with the Google Ads team, the social media team. So we're seeing those keywords that our heroes are relating to those categories. And then we can sit down if there's any discrepancies or we're trying to figure out what we're trying to do next, what the next campaign, we can look at the priorities too from a keyword perspective.
From a collaboration standpoint, I mentioned that and it's important in the hero mission strategy side to also get feedback from sales and service teams, include them in the conversation. They're hearing firsthand, okay, what questions does every prospective customer ask? And let's address those in content. And the same thing with service. What did we explain well or maybe not explain well in the sales process, the marketing end of things that maybe cause some angst later on. So including them in the process is very helpful.
That's a great one. Yeah, with the way people search so much differently in AI, they're not typing whatever plumber near me. They're typing some long phrase. And yeah, sales teams are definitely gonna hear more of that speak than traditional search speak. So yeah, the more you can mix in and get ideas like that, that's a great thought.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Talking about AI too. I just wanted to throw this out there because I'm seeing this more and more often, where I feel like there's a lot of companies that are using AI to create content, and I feel like they're using AI generators that'll just take blog posts out there and create a post, and then that just gets published without any sort of overview or value add to it. So it's going to be interesting over the next probably couple months, couple years, how saturated search engines are going to get with just kind of regurgitated content that lacks the value add. You know what I mean?
Well, that is what some people are believing the last Google algorithm kind of do, calling it a perspective update, that they want original perspectives, not general perspective on keywords or on topics. They want to see that expertise, that you have, gone through that experience before and you know what you're talking about. So I think in a way, Rob, we're starting to see it already. At least Google's kind of understanding that that's the proliferation of content like that is there, always has been, but probably amplified more with AI. And now that they're really cracking down a little more on that.
Now, given that, how often should a company do kill, keep, combine? How often should they do a content review and get their content updated?
I would say at least once a year would be good, if you're doing a full site. However, I mean, honestly, having it something that you're doing throughout the whole year gives you continuous improvement, right? So if you're strategically thinking that we're going to target these keywords, or maybe it's by cluster, right? You could have a topic cluster going on and you're focusing on this cluster and you're optimizing all the pillar content or the cluster content for a cluster. Then you're going to the next cluster, then the next cluster. Then you're strategically looking at it and you have something to do all the time versus doing it once and then having a long laundry list of things to update.
Yeah, I mean, looking at like the pruning, I mean, that's something, you can, like Brad said, maybe you do that once a year or something.
Mm-hmm.
But where you're going in, and if you can tweak a blog post or a service page, if you find new FAQs that you can add, I mean, you could do that on a monthly basis. I guess you could do it too often. You don't need to do it all the time, but I would say if you have the time, if you go in and you're updating blog posts or even your service pages, I would say as much as monthly for little tweaks like that could be helpful. And again, to go back to AI, like AI loves updated, fresh content. So I think it only helps you there.
Yeah, I saw a comment from Lori here. That's great because a lot of times those technical people don't want to write as well. So that's kudos for getting the team
congratulations
to do that. I'm questioning. I wonder what like the next steps after that is, and is there a template? I'm thinking process already on how that works, but I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, for sure. And to go back to the, like AI content, like we don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't use AI content, because you definitely can. And it, can help you scale. It could help make blogging possible for a lot of businesses that don't have, full teams dedicated to content or whatever. But things like that, like Lori was saying there, that's a great thing to add to, an AI piece of content that you write or update. Something like that, where only your technical service people might be hearing that. That's stuff that they're hearing from their actual customers that not every competitor might be hearing.
Right.
So think of it like you might use AI for like, the core or the structure, the beginning of your content, and then you're adding in things like that to personalize it and kind of separate your blog post from all the other AI regurgitated blog posts that are either going to exist or already do. But yeah, that's a great way to make your piece stand out versus all the others.
Yeah, any chance you can get to have your internal service team, even your sales team, to contribute to content. The on the sales side, your sales team, they're kind of in the front lines all the time, so they're getting questions from customers at the early awareness stage. Typically, whenever there's a problem, there's conversations within the organization, like they're talking about issues and pain points, right? And then somebody's going to go do a search, and then they're going to start talking to the sales rep, and they're going to say, this is what happened. This is why we're reaching out. This is what we're trying to solve. So working with the sales team to get those answers in, and then have your service team add feedback. That's another thing about the hero mission. You're kind of if you have a strong hero mission strategy built out, you can align marketing, sales, and service on helping that customer succeed. So all three teams are aligned on a common goal. All right. Does anybody have any other questions?
I could bring up one more thing.
Sure.
Another thing that we would definitely look at during our process would be even not so much creating new content or updating, but even if it's just adding links, internal linking between your content. It's really easy to you're just writing content, and over time you get all these blog posts, and they're not connected. There's no, Brad keeps mentioning clustering, which is like, categorization, but that's how you can really establish authority. When you've got a service page and then a bunch of blog posts about guides and whatever different informational pieces to kind of show your authority and your expertise. It might even be as simple as, you find through this, your KKC research here, you've got like 15 blog posts about X topic, and it might just be linking those together, internally linking them to each other and to a relevant service page. Just doing that, not even updating the content, is probably enough to move the needle significantly. So that's another thing to think about. If you're not linking between relevant blog posts and linking back to a service page or a product page, that's one thing that would be super helpful.
Yeah, I've actually read blog posts where I'm going through the blog post and something stated in the blog post, and I'm like, there should be a link here taking me to where I need to go, and there's not.
Tell me what to do next.
Yeah, tell me what to do next. Exactly. So that's great advice for sure. All right. Well, I think then we're going to wrap up the webinar today. I hope everybody found it useful. We don't have another webinar scheduled this year, but we are going to be doing a bunch of them next year. So definitely stay tuned. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We'll send an email out after this. If you want to schedule a time to talk to any of us about SEO or about marketing in general, feel free to do that. We love to talk about this stuff all day. And then other than that, if nobody has anything else, I'll let everybody get back to their Thursday.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.